So we are going to ask you to look at the camera once in a while too when you talk, Dorothy, so that you look into the camera. Sure. You can look at me and the camera.
Oh, you're something to look at.
Well, we're gathering at the Hastings Haven Homes this morning on October 11th, 1994, to visit with Dorothy Evert, who has been a resident of Prescott, born and raised in Prescott, and we wanted to ask her some questions about her growing up years in Prescott.
Right.
She's the granddaughter of James Monroe Bailey, who was an early settler in Prescott. And we're going to also point out that you have just celebrated your 95th birthday on September 21st. So we're very pleased to be able to visit with you this morning.
Hold tight, because that's pretty close to the 100.
That's right. Yes, I should say. May we begin this morning, Dorothy, by asking you some questions about your immediate family.
Right.
As the granddaughter of James Monroe Bailey, you indicated that your mother was his daughter and that she married a Mr. Costello.
Right.
Could you tell us about your own family? You had a sister and you had two brothers?
I had two brothers. I had no sisters.
Okay.
Bailey, Mark Bailey, he was named for his grandfather, and Jack Costello. And Jack went to France with the boys in the War of 8 at that time. And he was killed in France.
In World War I?
World War I, and Mother had him brought back. It came in the winter. We were out in Oregon, so they opened the doors of the home and held a service there. We didn't get there.
Oh, you weren't personally there?
No.
But your mother and...
My mother didn't get there either.
Oh, your mother didn't.
Very disappointed.
Oh.
But my uncle and aunt were there, Mr. Edward and Myrtle Meacham. And they had quite a crowd from the city. And then he was buried in the lot of my grandfather.
In Pine Glen Cemetery?
Pine Glen Cemetery. His father is there too, and his uncle, Harry Evert. So it's kind of a family place.
Yes, and I understand too that, we know there's a bronze plaque at Public Square in Prescott in honor of your brother Joe.
Yes,
and
George.
In honor of your brothers.
Yes.
This is perhaps a question that you could think about a moment too. Every child has memories of their family life, celebrating birthdays and special holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas. Could you talk about how you and your family and brothers celebrated
Well, we
those?
always had a large gathering of the family on Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Okay.
We must have 20 or 30 people in the dining room. And grandmother and mother worked hard. And then the boys helped too. And we had the children had to sit in the dining, in the living room, and everybody else was in the dining room. And it was quite a social affair.
And that was at your house on
Our
Pearl
house,
Street? On Pearl Street.
On Pearl Street. And it was quite an affair. When people came in from River Falls, or from Clifton, and even from Cottage Grove, they would come.
Okay.
Yes. So it was quite an affair.
And that was generally a tradition. Every Thanksgiving and Christmas, your family would entertain the relatives. And
on New Year's Day, we went to Uncle Ed's, Meacham's.
Okay, Mr. Ed Meacham.
In their home.
All right.
And he had the affair.
And where did he live?
He lived in Prescott.
Okay.
Well, what is now the Prescott Hospital.
Oh, where the River Hills Hospital is located now. Okay. All right, so that...
Nice home.
I have seen pictures of it. It was a lovely building.
It was.
And then how did you celebrate birthdays? I think in our family that was a tradition. How did you
My mother
celebrate?
always had a party. Had the children of our age. And we had hats and whistles and whatnot.
Oh, did you? Okay. And ice cream and cake, I hope.
Yes. And spilled it all over, of course.
And you'd
And
have...
all the children of the neighborhood.
And you'd have candles on the cake. So
Oh, yes.
yes.
You had to blow them out.
That's right. Oh, that's a lovely tradition. I think
Yes.
those are wonderful memories.
Uh-huh.
As a young schoolgirl, where did you go to school? What
Prescott.
building? What building was there?
The original building was down at Prescott Square, next to the park.
But also, didn't you say there were classes at the Masonic Lodge?
Yes, they were in it. Because the classes got large, they had to have some of them over there.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. For the younger people.
In the basement of the
Masonic Lodge.
Masonic Lodge, which was the Methodist Church.
Which was the Methodist
Mhm.
Church originally.
Surely. Uh-huh.
And then one year, my mother and father and I spent in California. And I went to school in Long Beach,
Oh, did
which
you?
was quite a change.
Oh, I should say, what an exciting adventure
Yes.
for you.
I sing Do Re Mi's, I've never done that before.
Oh, to be able to go from Prescott to Long Beach, California at that time was quite a
It
unique
was
thing. It really is.
going on a tourist journey. It
Uh-huh.
was a long time,
Oh,
about 6 days.
oh, of course.
Uh-huh.
And you lived out there for a short time then?
Yeah, for a year.
Oh, for a year.
And then mother undertook to bring Mrs. Ada Wilkes back to Prescott to live with her sister. She had been crippled by stroke.
Oh, I see.
And I was something, we traveled up the coast and to Eugene and stuff there, where I got the typhoid fever for some reason.
My.
When we came to North Dakota, and we stayed there a few days, but my mother was anxious to get me home.
Of course.
Oh, they got me in bed for 3 months.
Oh, my.
I was in the bedroom that overlooked the lake.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you, in Prescott, you had grade school classes,
Yeah.
and you took reading, of course, and math classes, I'm sure, arithmetic, as they called
And
it,
music.
music.
Uh-huh.
And is that where you learned to love music and became a teacher then?
Yeah.
Is that how you got interested in becoming
Yes,
a
well,
music
my mother
teacher?
insisted on piano lessons,
Oh, okay.
and I hated them, but I liked them.
You took lessons
Yes.
as a young child then?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Up through the first to the high school.
Okay, so you grew up in a home that really enjoyed music,
Yes,
and
my
you.
mother sang
Oh, she
She had a
sang.
lovely voice.
How lovely.
alto.
Mm-hmm.
She and Mr. Harvey used to sing duets in church.
Oh, how wonderful. And that was part of your reason for becoming a music teacher.
Yes.
Your love of music from childhood on.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. And as I remember, you told me that you had moved away from Prescott in your early 20s. So
Yes.
you weren't in Prescott when the lift bridge was dedicated.
No.
Do you remember the ferry boats,
I do.
Dorothy? Could you tell us about what it was like to ride one of the ferry boats
Well, it
across?
was kind of risky.
Was it?
Yeah.
Did you feel-
Sometimes things went off of it.
Sometimes you were afraid that you'd slide right into the river. Huh?
Yeah, you were tied down and by ropes and so on, and he had a little gas engine, and he chugged across the street
Across the river.
Across the river.
Mhm.
from Wisconsin to Minnesota.
And you had to do that every time you wanted to
Mhm.
get over to the other side.
Yeah.
Huh? And visit relatives, like in Cottage Grove,
Yes,
you had
Cottage Grove,
relatives there.
Hastings.
Hastings?
Yes,
Well, how much did it cost to ride the ferry?
25 cents.
25 cents for each of you? Each person?
Yeah, and 50 cents for a wagon.
Oh, okay. And you had, how did you travel once you got to the other side of the river? Did you,
We had a wagon.
you did take a wagon on the
Yeah.
barge with you?
Yeah, and then we drove a road into Cottage, into Point Douglas, and we took another ferry across the Mississippi to the
Ah,
Minnesota side.
okay. Do you remember the town of Point Douglas?
Yes,
That is interesting to think about because there's not much there now, but at one time it was quite a
it was
busy
quite
town.
busy. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it had a mill there.
Yes. In your childhood days, did you have good girlfriends and boyfriends that you could
Yes.
play with and go
Yes.
out and
Yes, the day was children.
what kind of games did you play?
Oh, run, cheap run, hide and seek, and all those kind of things.
just very traditional children's games that we
Yes.
read about.
Now, we had to get home before it got dark.
Well, yes.
Oh, my.
But you could walk and run about the town quite freely, I'm
Yes,
sure.
that end of the town.
There was, you had really a small town where you could come and go freely and
Yes.
not be afraid.
Yes.
In your teaching years in Iowa, you taught music at the high school level or at the...
Yes.
Okay.
All of them. I supervised the whole system
Oh, I see.
in Oshawa.
Did you direct choirs?
Yes, I had a choir.
How exciting.
And we did operettas and whatnot
Oh, did you?
every year.
Do you remember which operettas you did produce? Or?
No, but don't.
Okay, excellent. Oh, it must have been a very busy and
It was
challenging time.
It was. There were talented people. It was fun doing.
Oh, absolutely. But then when you married Mr. Evert, you came back to Prescott and lived in the Bailey
Yeah.
home. Yes, and I think that's wonderful
You
that
know,
you
we kept his home in Janesville and rented it out.
I see. In your retirement years in Prescott, I know you were very active in the Historical Society.
Yes.
Weren't you one of the early, one of the first members of the Historical Society of
Yes.
Prescott?
So what?
And it started up in the 1976 time when we had the bicentennial?
Yes.
Mhm.
And we enjoyed it.
Did you hold an office? Were you an
Oh,
officer?
yes. Oh, something or other.
Maybe treasurer.
Secretary.
Secretary and treasurer. This organization has been continuously in
Yes.
form since 1976, then I
That's right.
understand.
Mhm.
And as you lived in Prescott during those retirement years, were some of your childhood friends around, or were
Yes.
they all? Who were some of your childhood
Oh,
friends?
Ella Davis. Well, she wasn't in town, but she used to come often. And her sister May. And there was Marion Davis and Mildred Wolf.
Oh, yes.
I went to school. We went to music school together.
Okay. Mildred Wolf and you did? What music school was that?
McPhail School of Music in Minneapolis 1 year.
Okay.
Then I was qualified to teach music. I
Wonderful.
went 1 year and I decided I didn't know much. So I went on to Oregon to a couple of years at college
Okay, so you went to Iowa
after that.
City to the University of Iowa.
Yes.
And you had some other friends. I think you mentioned to me one time you knew Jean Wallace.
Yes. She
And
was a friend of mine from Little Rock.
was she the one that you traveled with to the Yellowstone Park?
No, that was Marion Alpha.
Oh, I see. Tell us about that. That's quite
That was
unusual.
fun. We worked through the senator from Wisconsin. He got a job up there. And we each had a job in a hotel. Wiping dishes.
And that was for the summer.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
We didn't stay the whole summer. We stayed till 1st of August and we had our train fare paid for. So then we went to Oregon for fun.
Oh, how nice. That was quite adventuresome
Yes,
for
it
that
was.
time. Your family didn't mind your going away?
Yes, they did.
Oh, they did?
I thought we were a little bit nuts.
Oh, they did. But you were traveling quite
Yeah.
widely. You said you'd been in Long Beach as a young girl and now as a...
Yes, my brother lived in Eugene.
So you visited your brother in Eugene, Oregon at the same time that you were at Yellowstone?
Yeah. We went to the mountains then.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yes.
Yes, it was beautiful.
When you talked about the childhood memories, I was told to ask you about the incident where there was a group of Indians came to your relative's home.
Oh,
Do you remember
group?
that
It was a
story?
small group.
To Nettie Bailey's house?
Yes, it was George. I can't remember his last name. He was the ferry boat man.
Oh,
And he lived
sure.
on the edge of the water.
Okay.
And they had gone to a dance, and the house to take care of the children. And he dropped a pocket sheet if an Indian came, I was just to point to the door and say, pocket. So an Indian came, and I said, pocket she, and he fed it and went out.
Oh, isn't that something? And that's a scary moment.
Yes.
But at the same time, you handled it very well.
Then I grabbed the kids and went up to them where they were dancing. I wasn't doing it anymore.
There were some, Nettie Bailey had some children she was babysitting. Yes, and then she was concerned that there were some Indians at the door.
Yeah.
Do you remember the old opera house in
Yes,
Prescott?
very much so.
Yes, how did they use that?
Well, we used it as a playhouse. We did plays, and we did some musical things, and I played basketball.
Okay. It was something that did you participate in the plays?
Yes.
Did you act in them? Oh, that's great.
Or I played the piano or something.
Oh, I would say, yes, they needed accompaniment for the music. Excellent. Your life in Prescott is unique in the sense that you were born and raised there, and then as a young professional woman you moved away for a time, and then you came back again. And
I came back every summer.
And you have family that still continue to live in the family home.
Yes.
That's just a wonderful tradition.
Yes.
We thank you very much for your
You're
time
welcome.
today, Dorothy.
You're very welcome.
We'll come back and visit again one day. Are you dry and you need some water?
Yes, I need some water.
Yes, I think it's at Hastings Haven Homes. We have come here to interview Dorothy as a part of our oral history project in the Historical Society. As a granddaughter of one of our early settlers, James Monroe Bailey, we want to ask Dorothy about her memories of the childhood in Prescott, as well as her years as she came back to retire in Prescott. We have celebrated her 95th birthday on September 21st, 1994, so this is a very important milestone in her life, and we are happy to be here to share it with her. Thank you.
Dorothy Costello Evert. Thank you.